Isn't it funny how time works? Like, that wasn't a lot of time, but it felt weird, right? It was very awkward. Like, why isn't he talking? What's going on? What's happening? It wasn't even that long. It was just a moment of time, but it seemed to last for a really long time. You know what they say about a watched kettle won't boil? Yet other moments go so quick and so fast. Like, we just try to grab it. I remember the day of my wedding. I was given that different pieces of advice. Everybody had a piece of advice, including even run. And all the different pieces of advices I took with kind of a grain of salt. But one of the advice was like how to not freak out on your wedding. And I was thinking, I don't want to not freak out. Because if I don't freak out, it'll just happen and then it'll be gone. Like, that wedding will just be a moment in time, and then next thing I know, I'm married, and that's no fun. The wedding is what's fun, right? So in that moment, I was like, I want to freak out because I know how big a deal this is, and I want to feel like it's a big deal. So I was back there, and I was like trying to freak myself out in the groom's room. This is a real big commitment, Richard. This is going to be for life. She could get sick. She might lose her legs, and then you're going to follow her. She's going to be paralyzed. That's going to happen, Richard. But it's okay, because that's what you're going to have to do. That's how big this is, right? Like, I was trying to freak myself out, get me excited, because I knew that was going to make the moment last. And yes, I am really crazy and stupid. Okay, that's another confession. But I wanted the moment to last. I wanted to treasure every moment of it. From the time I first saw her face as she was walking down the aisle, I wanted like every crisp image of that moment so that for the rest of my life, I would be thinking back and it would be just as if it was yesterday. You ever had those moments? Sometimes they're really tragic moments. Sometimes they're really scary moments. Like, I remember the moment in which I was with my dad in the car and we went onto the middle way and we started to flip in the air. And I remember it like it was slow motion as I planted my elbow on his face. Because at the time I thought it was the top of the car. It was just as firm. He's got a really rock solid jaw, I can tell you that for sure. It was funny when we got out of the car, he was like, I'm not even hurt. And I'm like, yeah, me either, except for my elbow is kind of hurt. And he's like, that's funny because the side of my face is hurt. And I was trying, how could I have gotten hit? And then we pieced it together and my elbow might have fit exactly the mark on his face. But it was like every moment was like if it was happening in slow motion. And then there's been other things where I so want the time to go quickly because I'm waiting for something. I'm anticipating something, and I really want it to happen. And it just goes on and on. Those of you who wait to have sex till marriage, you know what I'm talking about, right? It just goes on and on as you're waiting. You're expectant. You can't, wait anymore. That's the kind of the feeling that I'm talking about. Well, we are now in the, Mark's shaking his head, yeah, but you're saying no, but you mean yes. Anyway, we are now in the season of Advent. And Advent, like a lot of theological terms, is Latin. And the word add, does anyone know the Latin meaning of the word add? I'll give you a hint. If you know math, you kind of do. But anyone? It's a very simple word, 2 letters, add. 2. That's right, add. Add means 2, right? So if I have one shoe and then I'm putting it to the direction of another shoe, I am adding it to that shoe. And then I have how many shoes, people? Did someone say 3? Okay, math is not your thing. If I have one dress in the shopping cart and I'm adding another dress to the shopping cart, I'm thinking if math's not your thing, it's got to be shopping, right? Okay, then how many dresses do I have? 2 dresses. Okay, that's adding. That's to add. Add 2. So it just means 2. Okay, so then we've got to vent. So apparently what Advent means is to vent. Which for many of us, that's how we celebrate Christmas already. So we're perfectly happy to stop there. Because that's what Christmas is all about, right? We've got all these things to do, all this shopping to do, and what we get to do during the whole season is to complain. Yay! We love complaining. Complaining's fun. So we get to like talk about all the things that bug us and all the things that we don't like and the things that we want to buy that we can't buy and the things that other people want to buy that we think are stupid that they want to buy them, right? There's commercialism and there's materialism, and we love to complain about commercialism, materialism, as we also think about the materials that we actually would like. But those don't count as materialism. They're somehow like, they're immune to the materialism things, the things that we actually want to possess. It's like Oscar Wilde talked about fashion. Oscar Wilde said, what is fashionable is what one wears oneself. What is unfashionable is what other people wear. Other people are quite dreadful. This is Oscar Wilde's theory on fashion. The same thing as materialism. Like what is materialistic is what other people want in their houses. What is not materialistic is what I want in my house. Works for you, right? Okay? So and we complain about it all. We complain about, the time not moving quicker. We complain about the traffic not moving, the bonus and that we're getting for Christmas isn't big enough for our company that we work for. Whatever it is, we get stuck in this complacency to vent. We get stuck in this mindset that we're looking at all the negatives of life. And in fairness to us, there are a lot of negatives. Life is hard. Life is difficult. People take advantage of you. People misuse you. People betray you. And I'm never going to try to downplay the devastation that happens with brokenness and how people hurt people. The pain that people go through, I'm not trying to downplay it at all. It is devastating. And you have every excuse that you could ever want to do nothing with your life and believe in no one, to not trust anyone, to not ever do anything, to just stay in your house and live there with yourself. Of course, the problem is you're pretty bad too, so you're still going to have to live with you. I've tried this for a while. I thought I'm going to get rid of myself because I didn't really like myself, so I'm like, how could I do that? I came up with a lot of strategies, but none of them worked. There's no way to get around. You're still going to have to be with you. So in all of this stuff, you're looking at this and you're saying, where is he going with this? Well, let's go back to Advent, because thankfully, vent didn't actually just mean vent, okay? Vent actually means come, okay? So the Advent means to come. And when we're celebrating Advent, the season that we're waiting with, hopefully, expectancy, we're talking about the expectancy of what is to come. What is not yet here, but we know is going to come. That's what we should be focusing on right now. And as God has said many times, and Jesus said many times, the key to the kingdom of heaven is these little kids. The little kids around here and their expectant hearts. Now, we could look at them as immature, and there's some immaturity there when they were talking about their Christmas wish list, and they start in January for next year. And it's super long and includes all this stuff that they don't really need. Of course, our list that we give to God is the same, let's be honest. We've got a bunch of things that we don't really need that we're waiting for God to give us. But the expectancy that they have towards Christmas. Now, I was born a 70-year-old. Okay, I never wanted to do kid stuff and be a kid, and I hate when people called me cute because I wanted to be the little grown-up. My hero growing up was not Buzz Lightyear, it was King Solomon. I was a weirdo. I haven't changed much. But I wanted to be that wise guy, the wise sage. But there was one period, and it's still true to this day. You can ask my wife, who's texting right now. You can ask her that there was this one period of the year where I transform, where I'm not the mature, responsible Richard who wants to be wise and, have all the answers and is trying to discover and learn truth, where I just want to be a kid and I'm just happy, and you could give me things in a stocking and they're little toys that I don't even need, but I'm super happy and chipper about it. And it's Christmas. Christmas has this ability to transform me to be this little tiny child that's just so excited because I love it all. I love the songs. I mean, I don't even just love the spiritual stuff of like the story of Jesus coming in a baby, but like Will Ferrell said, baby Jesus is one of my favorite Jesuses, right? I love infant Jesus. He's awesome. Baby Jesus is awesome, right? And I love the whole story. It's a beautiful story. I mean, it is the center of our story of God seeing that we could never make it on our own. So he sent Jesus in the lowest, most fragile, simplest form to say, here, I can save you, and I'll show you that it's not a mighty fortress that you need. It's not a warrior that you need. It's a little baby, because what you need is love. What you need is sacrificial love. That's what you really need to make it through. Believe it or not, I can prove it to you. By having him born in this little manger, in poverty, and by changing the entire world, which happened objectively, whether you believe in God or not, this little baby was born in poverty and changed the world. And he only did ministry for 3 years, and he did it mostly in obscurity, and he changed the world. Those are facts that you can't debate, and no historian would debate you on those facts. That's awesome. That's a miracle, and that's what gets me like super excited. And that's part of it. But I'll admit, I love Bing Crosby. And when I heard that Michael Bublé did a remastered version with Bing Crosby of White Christmas, I might have freaked out a little bit. Like I'm talking about 13-year-old schoolgirl who just found out that like One Direction was coming to their high school to perform kind of freak out. That's the level of immaturity that I had at that moment that I'm like, oh my gosh, Michael Bublé and Bing Crosby did a great Christmas together, right? So I was like super excited about this. I mean, that's just how I get. I've like slept one night before Christmas. Like in the 30 years of my life, there has been one night that I could actually sleep before Christmas. I must have been sick or something. I don't know what was wrong with me. But I'm always like up that night. I used to go over to my brother Doy's house and we just sit together and we just like talk about things. We weren't even talking about Christmas, but we were just so excited. And it wasn't the presents. It was partly the presents. Okay? But it wasn't just the presents, it was the whole experience. It was like having family and singing songs. My family, we sing a bunch of songs throughout Christmas. We have like the scripture reading, we hug, we laugh, we cry, we smile. Like we open presents one at a time so we can watch people, because it's not about getting the presents, it's about watching other people open it and seeing that joy on their face when they open it. This expectancy is so beautiful. And it's so easy to lose it. It's so easy for the magic of Christmas to be lost. One of the things that my family also does is we watch way too many movies. Okay, we live in the movie world. Like we can't have a sentence without quoting a movie. So if you ever don't understand something I'm saying in the sermon, it's probably because it's a quote from a movie. Okay, that's just the reality. So we watch all these Christmas movies. And we watched The Christmas Carol is one of the movies that we watched together as a family already. And A Christmas Carol is such a great example of what you see in a conversion experience. Okay? So I can use theology and Christmas movies together. Isn't that wonderful? I love that. Okay, a conversion experience here with Scrooge. Now when Scrooge starts, is he unjust? Because every arrangement, every negotiation that he makes with someone else who agrees to that negotiation, right? He says, if I give you this good or service, you have to give me this good or service. Like, is that so wrong? Is that not negotiation of the business world and the way it's supposed to work? Like, two businessmen get in a room, they discuss, and they're both trying to get the best deal they can. And if he's better at negotiating and he was able to work out better deals, so he's been able to be really, really wealthy, then who's to blame him for that? Who's to say that's wrong? He's just a good negotiator. He's just good at doing his job, and he's earned a lot of money doing so. But of course, then there's the other side of it. The other side of it is his nephew who looks at it and it says, you don't even make yourself happy with all this wealth. What good is it? See, if we're focused on what's right for us, what's good for us, what helps us, we're always going to fall into complacency. This Scrooge character might be an extreme example, but the reality is he focused in his life on achieving success, and he did it. Originally, the saddest part is the only reason he wanted to achieve success at first was to win the hand of a woman that he later abandoned because he saw her as a distraction from success. Because eventually that world lulled him in, and he just became obsessed with this world of complacency, this world of negotiation, this world of, I will serve you if you serve me. Right? That's the world that he lived in. And then his old partner comes to him and goes for him, and sorry if you haven't watched the film or read the books yet, which I don't know why you hadn't, even if you're young. You should have already. But his old business partner comes to him and goes for him, and he says, you're going to be visited by 3 ghosts, and they're going to show you the mistakes of Christmas past, present, and future, and what that really ends up meaning in your life. Because as much as you made good business sense, mankind should have been your business. That's what he says. Mankind should have been your business. And he's right. Bob Marley is right. Okay? Scrooge was not the way to go through life. Bartering for what you can get most will never get you happy. It's never the way to go through life. So here's this other model. Okay, this other model presents its form, and it presents itself in the form of a little baby. That's what we're waiting for, the Advent. See, the other term that's used to describe Advent, we do use Advent in other contexts. We just don't a lot anymore. But like there's the advent of the television. Has anyone heard that phrase? No? Okay, just me? All right. Mike's heard the phrase. Thank you, Mike, up in the sound booth. I can say Mike heard and understands everything that I talk about because you can't tell because he's behind you. So I'm like, Mike raised his hand. He didn't raise his hand. But anyway, Marcy, thank you. The advent of the television. Has anyone heard the rumors about like what people were worried about when the televisions first started? Does anyone remember what they called it? What was the television first called? One-eyed monster? Yeah, that. Okay, another one? There's a box, something box. The idiot box. The idea was this irrational fear was that we're going to watch TV all day and then we were going to become stupid. Clearly that didn't happen. Instead, television produced such intellectually stimulating things like Real World and Road Rules and Big Brother and Bachelor and Bachelorette and what was the Apprentice and all the, right, like quality stuff that makes our life better and makes us smarter and happier in life, right? Sometimes maybe the fear that people have at the beginning was actually there was some grounding in. Or the advent of the internet, which has changed everything. I mean, the advent of the internet. And we have to give credit to the guy who invented the internet, Al Gore. He took time away from creating pants and started, inventing the internet, and we should all be grateful for him. But anyway, that period of starting the internet when you first went on and there was like 2 websites, AOL, and then like nothing else. And somehow you get mail and it just pop up and you're like, oh, wow, I got mail. Now you're like, how can I stop getting mail, please? Can they stop sending me mail? And it's never from real people anymore. It's changed everything. For better or worse, but no advent has changed the world like the event of Jesus coming. No advent of any technology or any development has changed the world objectively more than a baby being born in the Middle East 2,000 years ago in a manger. It was actually a cave, but regardless, like in this little cave with livestock next to him. Nothing. Wow. What does that tell you? What does it tell you about how we should live our life? What does it tell you about human nature? What does it tell you about what the key to real success is in life? Because it changes a lot of the way that I think about the world. If that one event was removed, it would change everything for me. Because the evidence of why we should live a generous life starts at Jesus. Starts at his example. and is backed later by more and more science and more research. And I could talk to you all day about all the things that have verified the generous approach to life and why it works. But the generous approach is saying, I am going to not make the best deal for me that I can. Instead, I'm going to make the best deal for others that I can. That in my life, when every little negotiation happens, when every little decision happens, my question isn't how can I serve myself best in this deal, but how can I serve others best in this deal? That's it. And it's a hard way to go through life in a lot of contexts, different contexts. It's a hard way to go through life because you're constantly giving up all that you think you can, and sometimes you even overextend. And this is something that I do all the time, that I think I can do all this, and then I get in the middle of it, I'm like, oops, I can't. This is too much for me. I don't know what to do now. Here, I need help. And I get to that place all the time. The hardest part about that life is it's not an independent life. You can't do it on your own. Ravi Zacharias is this really well-known speaker, and I love him. He's a really good, gifted speaker, but he shares this story about this guy who was not a Christian, and claimed that the Christian life is not livable. It's not actually livable. You can't actually follow the tenets of Christianity. And he proved it by asking someone to challenge that, and a Christian professor came up, and he slapped him on the face and then told him to turn the cheek. That's what you're supposed to do in Christianity. And as Ravi shares the story, he tried to share the story of how that professor's example of doing that inspired so many people to show that it was livable. But I've thought about that example over and over, and you know where I get to? He's right. It's not livable. The Christian life is not livable. Doing things like Jesus asked us to do isn't livable. Of course, the reality is we know we never can achieve the example of Christ. That's why Christ came down and gave himself to us. And yes, it's not livable because we can't do it on our own. We can't do it on our own strength. And we keep trying and failing, and we're thinking, what's wrong? Because we never were meant to. Because we need to lean on him. We need the Holy Spirit. We need the community to come alongside us. We can't do it on our own. But it's still the only way to go through life fully in love with God, fully in joy and abundance of life. There's this pastor, I talked about him a little bit last week. His name is Francis Chan. Francis Chan is one of these guys that I strive to eventually get there. I'm not Francis Chan. In no form am I like Francis Chan. Francis Chan, I found out, started a church taking no money and having his wife completely provide for the family. So he took no money from the church. Kate? Anyway, so I'm just saying, he totally lived off his wife. Great guy, right? Women are thinking, I don't know, it doesn't sound good to me. Right? And he started this church. It was just a home group at first, but it grew. As he was doing more and more work, he went to different mission works. He went to mission work in Africa one time, and he came back after seeing what people live like in Africa, and he was like, I can't do this anymore. I live in too nice a house. So he moved into a trailer. He moved him and his kids into a trailer because he's like, I can't do this. This is sick, and it's wrong that I live in this nice house while other people are suffering. Again, I'm not this guy, so don't call me a hypocrite, but I'm just saying, I look at this guy and I'm like, wow, he gets it, right? So then from there, he adopted people. He adopted even teenagers, which are some of the hardest people to adopt, and he loved them as his own. He wrote a book, and the book became a bestseller, and he gave 90% of the proceeds away to charity from the book. 90% of the proceeds. When he finally made some money from his ministry, he gave almost all of it away. Guess what the book's name? Does anyone know? Crazy Love. The book is entirely about the crazy love of God. That's insane. It doesn't make sense. It's not rational. It's powerful. It's beyond anything that we could ever ask or imagine of. It's this crazy love of I'm going to come and I'm going to die for you, even in your brokenness, even in your dysfunction, even when you make mistakes, even though I know you're still going to betray me, I'm going to die for you because I love you with crazy love. With crazy love. You know the song, by the way, Crazy Love? That's what I think of, like instead of he give me love, 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 crazy love, But that crazy love. And that's what he's calling us to. So it's not sane. It's not sane. It never was claimed to be. It's crazy love. That's the love that Francis Chan loves people in his ministry. It's not sane love. It's crazy love. It says, I don't care if everyone else has rejected you, if you are a leper of society, if nobody wants to deal with you because you're too lost or too broken, I'm going to love you even though it's crazy. And I'm not going to say it's not crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy, it's hurtful, it's difficult, and it's challenging. It'll take everything you've got and more because it's unlivable. Because it's not succeedable. This is not like let's put together a business plan for success and then, it's loving people with Jesus' love. You'll never get there because it's too much. It's crazy. But it's the love he first gave us. It's the love he first gave us. And so I confess that I have slipped too often into the complacency of all the challenges, of all the negatives, and I've looked at all these criticisms and difficulty and challenges, and I've just been lost in myself saying, I can't do it. How am I supposed to do this? What am I going to do? And I still don't know. I'm not trying to tell you that I know what I'm going to do. I still don't know. But I've lost focus of remembering the crazy love that says, I am there for you and it's coming. That expectancy to say, the answer isn't there yet because it hasn't come. But that crazy love is coming. The crazy love that comes from Jesus that saves all, that makes all things new is coming. So don't give up hope. Keep moving forward. Keep loving people. Keep trying to make a difference in your life. Never give up hope because crazy love is coming. And that's what Advent means. That's the reason for the season. That's the reason that we can be like little children and silly and immature and foolish and how excited we are despite the difficulties of life, despite the lack of money in our bank account. We can have that excitement because we know crazy love is coming. Crazy love is there for us. And if you have to go through the dysfunction and distrust and betrayal of thousands of people in your life that have hurt you and abandoned you to find just one crazy love that won't, just one crazy love that will be there for you when you need them, it's worth it. Because crazy love makes all things new.